The Courage Habit. Written by Swoboda. Summarized by goldreaders.com. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Introduction. Discover the personal benefits of confronting your fears and embracing a more courageous life. Have you ever experienced the desire to make a change but struggled to break free from your own habits and anxieties? Whether it's pursuing a new career, enhancing your romantic relationship, or exploring a creative hobby, taking the initial steps can feel challenging. Rest assured, you are not alone in this struggle. Through her work as a life coach, Swoboda has observed that fear is the primary obstacle that prevents us from manifesting our true dreams and aspirations. Merely denying or fighting fear proves to be unrealistic and ineffective. Instead, these insights will guide you on a journey to lead a more courageous life by delving into your deepest fears, transforming your emotional patterns, and reframing the narratives you tell yourself. Within these chapters, you will discover the significance of envisioning your most liberated day as a catalyst for change. The importance of disrupting your cue routine reward cycle to facilitate personal transformation. Effective strategies to engage with your inner critical voice. By embracing these concepts, you can unlock the power within yourself to confront your fears and live a life filled with courage and fulfillment. Chapter 1. Confronting fear and embracing change. The journey towards living courageously starts by recognizing the role fear plays in shaping your habits and routines. The realization that it's time for a life transformation may have caught you off guard. The underlying truth that triggers this feeling of discontentment, whether it's related to your career, a relationship, or something else, can be inconvenient and may give rise to stress and self-doubt. The idea of change itself might seem impractical or uncomfortable. These reactions are completely normal. However, what might surprise you is that they all stem from the same source, fear. Fear doesn't always appear in the way we expect. Sometimes, it manifests as different emotions. When we decide to make significant changes without acknowledging and addressing our fears, it becomes easy to use those accompanying emotions as rationalizations for not following through. For example, imagine you desire to switch careers. However, due to the considerable investment of time and money you have made in obtaining an advanced degree in your current field, starting over may seem illogical. Consequently, you continue in your current job, despite increasingly dreading it each morning. Similarly, you might have a persistent sense that something is missing in your life. This feeling becomes difficult to ignore, yet the idea of changing direction or creating a completely new path feels overwhelmingly intimidating. But why does taking a new direction evoke such fear? The brain is wired to seek comfort and predictability. It triggers feelings of fear and anxiety when its established routines are challenged. On the other hand, it rewards you with a sense of relaxation when you choose the predictable path. This inherent preference for familiarity and resistance to change is why facing fears and making significant changes can be incredibly challenging. It requires patience and the willingness to sit with uncomfortable emotions. Attempting to combat fear by ignoring it or continuously forcing positive thinking are ineffective approaches. So, what can you do instead? You can choose to practice courage by actively engaging with your fears and giving yourself permission to break free from the status quo to discover a better way of living. One approach is to reconsider your relationship with fear by challenging old habits and forming new ones. However, before embarking on the four-step process known as the courage habit, there are a few initial steps to take, starting with embracing your authentic desires. Chapter 2. Unleash your true desires. Embracing your true desires and giving them honest recognition allows your most courageous self to emerge. The courage habit, developed by the author, serves as a technique to help individuals take their own desires seriously, confront their fears, and unlock their inherent courage. It is important to understand that becoming your most courageous self does not entail transforming into someone completely different. Rather, it involves removing the barriers that have hindered the growth of that authentic person within you. Before embarking on the initial step of the courage habit, there are a few preparatory tasks to undertake. Firstly, you need to determine what you genuinely want. One approach is to envision your liberated day, a day free from the constraints of fear. Delve into the details of this ideal day, contemplating how you would feel upon waking up and as you settle back into bed at night. Consider how your most courageous self would approach various aspects of your life. Keep in mind that the purpose of the Liberated Day exercise is to uncover your true desires. Set aside external influences or validation from others, and instead, focus on internal cues that guide you towards authenticity. These internal cues direct you towards the things that truly resonate with your being. For example, the author's client, Ellen, discovered through mapping out her liberated day that her fulfillment didn't lie in continuing her career as a sales representative. Instead, she found true happiness in reading and discussing books with others. Consequently, she made the courageous decision to quit her job, embrace a more modest lifestyle, and pursue a master's degree in literature. Once your liberated day has granted you permission to dream big, it's time to bring practicality into the equation. Narrow your focus down to 3 primary focus goals, 3 areas of your life that you wish to change. These goals can encompass tangible aspects such as traveling to South America or intangible ones like understanding the reasons behind a failed marriage. Refine these goals by asking yourself questions such as, what evokes curiosity or excitement in me? Where do I envision myself in 6 months? What patterns am I tired of? Additionally, consider how achieving these goals could positively impact others, allowing you to be a more supportive friend or family member by reconnecting with your own happiness. As you contemplate your primary focus goals, remember that stepping outside of your comfort zone and embracing new experiences is crucial, even if the outcomes are uncertain. Mistakes are inevitable along the way, but they serve as opportunities to build resilience, an integral part of the transformative process. Chapter 3. Rewriting your fear routine. While eradicating fear may be impossible, you can diminish its power over you by taking control of your fear routine. Fear often stands as the greatest barrier to pursuing our aspirations, and simply deciding not to be afraid is not a viable solution. According to shame researcher Dr. Brené Brown, emotions cannot be selectively shut down. However, before diving into the courage habit, it is essential to change how emotions impact our lives by addressing our daily habits. In Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, 2014, it is explained that our emotional experiences are significantly influenced by our habits, which can be broken down into a 3-step cycle: cue, routine, and reward. The cue represents the initial emotion or feeling we encounter. When a cue triggers stress, our brains are wired to engage in a specific behavior or routine that offers a reward of decreased tension. For instance, imagine going to a co-working space to focus on writing, but upon seeing other competent writers, self-doubt takes hold. In this case, self-doubt acts as the cue, and the routine becomes leaving the situation. The reward is the temporary relief obtained by leaving the co-working space. The example above demonstrates not only habitual behavior but also a fear routine in action. There are 4 predominant fear routines. 1. The perfectionist's fear routine leaves them chronically dissatisfied, overwhelmed, and irritable. They take on excessive responsibilities and struggle to let go of control. External validation and completing tasks on a to-do list provide a temporary sense of fulfillment. 2. The saboteur's routine involves taking steps forward only to backtrack. The initial excitement diminishes as they feel tied down, making it challenging to sustain efforts. They often expect significant returns from minimal energy investments. 3. The martyr's routine revolves around people-pleasing. Their primary focus is serving others, using the excuse that they don't have time to pursue their dreams due to the needs of family and friends. 4. The pessimist's routine leads them to believe that nothing ever works out, resulting in a lack of motivation to try. They refrain from asking for what they want, as they perceive opportunities for change as non-existent. While many individuals display elements of each routine, they typically rely on one of them. Identifying your predominant routine empowers you to interrupt the routine aspect of your fear pattern and discard habits that do not serve you. Chapter 4. Using body awareness to confront fear. Once you can recognize the physical sensations of fear in your body, you can take actions to change your fear patterns. Identifying your true desires and working on your habits are challenging tasks for anyone. However, completing these tasks doesn't mean you can relax and take a break. On the contrary, you are now ready to take the initial step towards developing courage. This step involves becoming aware of your body, which enables you to identify the fears that hinder your progress. It is a form of mindfulness practice that allows you to pause and gain control over your cue routine reward process. To begin accessing your body, you can perform a body scan starting from your feet and gradually moving upward. You can ask yourself how your feet are feeling, using phrases like "no pressure," "just wondering," "what's happening today," or "what do you need?" Proceed in this manner until you reach your head. During this practice, pay attention to the sensations that arise and try to understand the corresponding emotions. For instance, a tightening sensation in the body or a churning feeling in the stomach could indicate fear. Fear can manifest in even stronger physical ways that can be debilitating, making it challenging to change our usual behaviors. Initially, you might encounter difficulties in accessing your body. An example of this is Janelle, a client of the author, who is a multitasking mother of 3 with a fear routine rooted in being a martyr. Janelle was initially skeptical of mindfulness practice, but was able to identify a pit in her stomach. When asked about its meaning, Janelle realized that the sensation was conveying the message, "You're not being a good mother." Recognizing this fear greatly assisted Janelle in addressing her cue routine reward cycle. If a body scan doesn't work for you, there are various other methods to connect with your body. You can try dancing to music, running, practicing yoga, engaging in sexual activity, or visualizing yourself in a joyful state and observing the associated sensations. If you are concerned about overwhelming emotions disrupting your day, you can try containing the experience when accessing your body. This means planning to release those feelings within a specific time and space. For example, you can set a timer in another room to gently bring you back to the present, take a walk afterward, or schedule a call with a friend. Body-based practices can evoke intense sensations of fear, but allowing yourself to sit with those sensations enables you to intervene in your most harmful cue routine reward cycles. Chapter 5. Standing up to your inner critic. You can deal with the voice inside you that says negative things without letting it scare you. Everyone has a voice inside their head that can be mean and make them doubt themselves. It stops them from trying new things because they think they won't succeed. We usually try different ways to handle this voice. We might ignore it, try to make it happy, or argue with it, but these are only temporary solutions. The better way is the second step of being brave, investigating this voice. Let's imagine a situation. Taylor was brave enough to leave her job and become a freelance photographer, but her negative voice kept getting in the way. It said mean things and made her anxious. Taylor thought maybe she needed this voice to keep her on track. But it's possible to listen to this negative voice without letting it control your choices. Try writing down what this voice is saying, exactly how it sounds. Instead of just saying, "I'm scared I'll fail," write down the actual words, "You'll never be as good as others." Why even try? Next, think about your goals and what this negative voice says about your ability to achieve them. After that, try doing something physical to help you overcome your fears. Like Taylor, it might be hard for you to accept that this negative voice is holding you back. It feels comfortable to listen to it because it's what you're used to, while trying something new is scary. It's easier to deal with this voice when you ask it to say things respectfully. If it says something mean, tell it to say it in a nicer way. Say, "Please say that differently. I'm listening, but only if you can be nice." Doing this helped Taylor understand that her negative voice was actually scared of not having enough money. This fear came from when Taylor was a child and her parents fought about money. Knowing this helped Taylor feel more compassionate towards her negative voice. It's important to show love and compassion to ourselves, including this negative voice. Chapter 6. Reframing limiting beliefs. Changing the way you think about your life's possibilities can happen by looking at your limiting beliefs from a different perspective. When you start having conversations with your inner critic, you'll begin to realize the significant impact of the stories we tell ourselves. These stories, which we all have, shape how we see the world. While they may not be inherently positive or negative, some are more helpful than others. Reframing our limiting stories, which is the third step in developing courage, allows us to prevent unhelpful stories from dominating our lives. An example of this is Carolyn, a client of the author. Carolyn appeared content with her unconventional lifestyle, living without the burdens of adulthood and trading her coding skills for goods she needed. However, she faced significant debt and couldn't pass a credit check to secure an apartment. Traditional employment was also out of the question due to the risk of wage garnishment by the IRS. At one point, a friend offered Carolyn a job that paid a high salary, seemingly the solution to her problems. However, Carolyn was determined not to settle down because she believed it meant sacrificing fun. Before making a final decision, Carolyn took the time to question her own stories. By reframing them, she realized that her aversion to commitment was actually a result of her fear of self-sabotage. She recognized that it didn't truly make her happy, it was just familiar and less stressful than trying something new. Carolyn understood that commitment didn't necessarily mean sacrificing fun, it was a false belief. By articulating her story, Carolyn was able to break free from her self-sabotaging patterns. She accepted the job, stuck with it, and eventually paid off her debt. In a surprising twist, the job actually brought her more independence, albeit with added responsibility. To identify your own story, focus on an area of your life where you feel stuck, especially related to your main goal. Complete the sentence "I'm frustrated because," and write down your critic's perspective on your progress towards that goal. Then, try to express the limiting stories you're telling yourself, such as "I'm incapable of changing my life." Finally, reframe the story by stretching it in a more positive direction. For instance, the previous statement can be reframed as "I'm open to exploring options for change," which is a more positive and actionable story. It's important to note that reframing stories is not the same as making empty positive affirmations. Affirmations can sometimes lack substance, particularly when dealing with systemic oppression. Reframing stories involves empathizing with your own struggles and pain, and it prevents your stories from becoming an endless cycle without healing or resolution. Chapter 7. Surround yourself with supportive people. To live a courageous life, it's important to have supportive people around you who also believe in the value of courage. Even if we have worked on understanding ourselves better, we can still get caught up in fear and routines that hold us back. That's why the last step in the courage habit is finding a community of people who are also trying to be courageous. Researchers at Harvard University found that having support from others is important when trying to develop new habits. So, where can you find a group of supportive people? Start by thinking about the people you already know. Who else is trying to be courageous in their lives? Write down the names of those who come to mind and think about whether they show important behaviors like being open about their struggles, trying to solve problems, listening, and being kind to others. Choose someone from your list to connect with and develop a courageous relationship. Practice being open and vulnerable with them by sharing your feelings and experiences honestly. Building relationships can be challenging, and the people around you may not always support your desire to be courageous. But don't be afraid to show vulnerability. Remember the lessons you've learned in the courage habit, pay attention to your body, listen to your inner critic, and change any unhelpful stories you tell yourself. If someone responds negatively or disrespectfully, express how their words or actions make you feel. Let them know what kind of behavior you would prefer. If they continue to be unreceptive, it's important to set boundaries and seek out others who share your values. If you feel nervous about making new connections based on courage, use the skills you've learned in the courage habit to work through those feelings. For example, if your inner critic tells you that you're not good at socializing, ask for a redo and remind yourself that you're willing to try your best despite feeling shy. Lastly, don't wait for others to show reaching out behaviors, take the initiative yourself. One way to do this is by asking someone about their life and actively listening to their response. Remember, living a courageous life is a journey that requires ongoing effort. It's not as simple as flipping a switch from being fearful to being brave. But if you keep practicing the courage habit, you'll see that the rewards of living authentically and true to yourself are worth it. Conclusion. To practice courage, you need to first find out what scares you and then face those fears. You can start by understanding your habits and breaking them down into smaller parts. Pay attention to how fear feels in your body and the thoughts it creates in your mind. Write down these thoughts and try to change them into more positive and helpful ones. It's also important to have supportive people around you who are also working on being courageous. Actionable advice. Celebrate your progress. Don't just focus on the fears and negative feelings in your body, also pay attention to the positive ones. These can help you feel good about the time and effort you've put into this journey and ignore any thoughts that say you haven't done enough. Take note of any changes in your thinking that you've noticed during this process. These show that you've been actively working on being courageous.